In the traditional systems, we have got 3 centers below this level. The Muladhara, Swadhishtana and Manipura, they're all there. They deal with the physical, vital planes of our being, pranic and vital planes of our being. And enough literature has been written on that. But Babaji Maharaj makes a very, very significant deviation in his system by starting the progress only from the heart. He is just not bothered about the remaining portions, and he says that the movement has to be done in the heart. If you understand a bit, you are not a slave of the body, you are not a slave of the sense organs, you are not a slave of your prana, but you are a slave of your ideas about the body, you are a slave of ideas about your prana, you are a slave of your ideas about the vitality. It is these ideas that are affecting us. This is unique to the human plane. Animals have got all these 3, but then they do not have a meditation. We are the only people. So, he gives us the credit of starting the sadhana from the heart and doesn't bother us about the lower centers that are there, which every civilized person, educated person, a moral person would have anyway got out of reasonably and is trying to get out of it. And that is what motivated you to come here. So this diversion of the flow that is there, the upper portion, is generally experienced very early in the system. By people who are sensitive, they are very, very clear about it. Who are less sensitive, they are perhaps not all that clear. But vibrations, anyway, they are acknowledged. But if you concentrate or apply your mind on vibrations, you will have only the Omkarana. That is the first condition of ajapa that you will be having. Ajapa is not an unconscious repetition of a mantra that we have learned as tradition teaches us, but is an automatic sound that we hear in the heart first, in the upper portion of the heart. Babaji Maharaj goes to the extent of saying that that is the fundamental index to note whether a man has moved to the upper plane. That's a parameter given for us to watch. This can be watched by your own. In the very first instance, we say that you feel the vibrations. Some people feel something of a heat, something of sound, some push here and there. These are all the various ways in which it is experienced. And that is the experience of ajapa. And here they have put immediately the experience of anahat, which comes later actually. So this L to U is a first transition that should happen. That is, you must find your vrittis, mental vrittis, not going to the animal and the baser levels, and as far as possible trying at the human level. And why I am using the word as far as possible, we are all grahastas, we are committed to household life, and we would like to lead a life which is fruitful to the society in which we are born. We have got to contribute as expressions of the divine for the better feeling about the presence of God. We have got to do that. We must enable others, as the 9th commandment says, to feel that piety and love towards God. Our behavior should be such. But that is possible only when you live as far as possible at the upper level. Does this happen to you or not is the question, and we have given you the answer. It does happen, but more depends upon your own attempts. Something is done. It is like hatching. The egg must have life. Then hatching gives it the heat, and then you have got a chick. Neither the hen by itself nor the egg by itself can do anything by itself. Nothing will come out of it. So this fermentation or the heat that is given is the pranahuti aspect of it, which has been discussed, I am sure. And the other one is your own effort. There must be a life in you, an aspiration in you, something to become better than what you are. You can't throw the load on others. Nor can somebody think that he can make something out of you. Nobody can do anything with you unless you are willing for that. So if this aspiration is maintained, it will be good. But how to get that? I want to serve, but I'm not able to. Now what happens is, when you come to the not one, or 1A, 1A and 1B, or 1 and 1A, there's a big confusion about the subject. In the sense, now, numbering them. They are located in the heart, very much there. The physical locations have been shown in the path of footpath of grace. It is available. You kindly have a look into it. Keep some copy here so that people will read that. They are pinpoints. They are knotted together. And one is connected with the Viveka, and another is connected with the Vairagya. Now, at one stage we are talking about the Grahasta life, and at simultaneously we are talking about the Vairagya. It may appear a bit odd. No, it is not odd. What we are trying to do here is, instead of a negative attitude towards the world and say that I shun it, we are asking you to develop a positive attitude towards the whole thing and then love God and His expression. So our attachment, instead of being to our people in the sense of exclusively our own people, we are asking you to develop that attachment to the divinity. Then this becomes less. The famous illusion theory is you have got one line and you think that's a big line, put a bigger line by its side, then it becomes smaller. That's how we develop the vivek. So the bigger thing to which we get attached is the divinity. The smaller thing which we would like to get less attached are the problems of life. Problems of life are personal and unique perhaps to each person according to his samskaras, and there's no point in comparing that aspect of it, and there can be no bodayanti parasparam on that. Except as to how you are able to solve a particular problem. Somebody may share. Before all this, there is some similarity. But each is unique to itself, and no comparisons subsist. So we kept a position that bondages which we have chosen, by which I mean, apart from your own work, which is your choice, I will not digress there, but then other things, your friends, or you are making, your wife is you are making, your children are you are making, these attachments are your own. Nobody else has thrust them on you. And since these attachments are there, you get to know later that somebody has behaved or misbehaved. He has lived up to your expectations or anticipations, or he has not. Then you get a feeling of conflict, feeling of disappointment. All these things are there in life. Each one is disillusion after some time. Slowly the friends drop off. Surely new friends crop up just to fill up the gap. But then you come to know that there is no other friend. Finally, you come to a stage, there is only one friend, and that is God. You try to pray. You try to pour out yourself before Him. In your own prayer room, you will definitely see this. There is no other friend with whom you can confide. There are many occasions when the husbands cannot talk to their wives and the wives cannot talk to the husbands freely. They would like to, but they cannot. The same position is there between the son and the father, the daughter and the father or the mother, between brothers, between sisters. Barriers are there. These barriers are basically things which push us to understand that these are all transient. Nothing is permanent. There's only one thing that is permanent, and that is the feeling or the presence that there is somebody inside my heart who hears me. You try to develop intimacy with him. That is the viveka, then the vairagya. These are the two centers, this develop. But then nobody gets stabilized there. People go to the smashan, all wise. When they come back, perhaps one or two among them keep the wisdom of the transiency of the world. and life. The remaining are lost, either with their buffaloes or donkeys or men or horses or cars, whatever it is. Why I talk about buffalo is near my house is a smashan where all the cowherds get their buffaloes. So I thought I should talk about it. But it requires a kabir to maintain the serenity, composure, the balance while going to the smashan and coming back from that. That is the example given by Babuji Maharaj in his book. Now, we would like to be that. How can I do that? Here comes, because of the flow of thought from your lower portion to the upper portion, what happens is there is some vibration in the north one itself, which naturally happens. If it does not happen, in this system, you are assisted by the transmitter power of the trainer to move to that level. And from then onwards, move towards this next God. Once you are stabilized at the Viveka and the Vairagya level, reasonably, not totally, because if you get total Vairagya, then the chances are you will not continue in the Grahasta ashram. There is a peculiar method in this system that a person is allowed to move on to the higher plane of consciousness, though his experience in the lower plane is less. This is similar to our system of education, where a person who gets perhaps about 40% or 50% marks is promoted to the next class, asking him to learn the remaining portion of the 50% later, because that's anyway covered in the next class. So this unique feature of pushing a person out from one knot to the other is a significant contribution of SriRamchandraji Maharaj to the field of spirituality. Earlier, Chithyante Hridayagami, Dithyante Sarvasamsaya. You got to break open the knots. Whereas in this case, in this system, no knot is broken. They are loosened. They are loosened to allow the flow of consciousness to the upper side. They are enabled to move on. Such an enabling gives you the vibration at the second knot, which is located on the right side of the chest as against the left, with which you start with the heart. Here, the exact locations you can see the book itself. So from the left side to the right side, no, that is just about 2 fingers from the nipple, you will find both one knot or second knot. And here, the first thing that we develop, understand, consciousness transforms itself to one of an awareness of the interdependency we have got with each other and with that of divine. You know that we are not separate. The individuated consciousness at the lower plane of consciousness in the heart, which already got transformed by its movement to the upper plane, and the development of Viveka and Vairagya, develops into an awareness of interdependency between all the people, and more so with a force which is above us. We come to know that there is something above. Very consciously we come to know about that. There is some binding factor of all of us, though we seem to be separate. All human beings are united. For that matter, all pranis are united. All existence, some other saint went to the extent of saying, is united. He could see, even in the Pashana, the souls. Because he found they are also an expression of the divine. And then you have got similarities of expression in the Vedic period of Isavasyam and all that. Isavasyam is also, everything is encompassed by the divine. Yes, we feel that we are dependent, and we also feel that he is also dependent upon us. I am as much required by the divine as he requires me. This is the feeling that we have got. And that is the real nature of ourself. We have come here as expressions of the divine, knowing full well that we are going to express Him. If God wants to express anything here, He can do it only through us. If all of us were to take to sannyas and then get back to our source, there's nothing for God to express. He will be a barren God. He requires us as much as we require Him. And that is the reason why divinity is prepared to help us. Why divinity should help us? Why it has been always answering to our prayers? If you put this question, He wants us very much. The divinity wants us. There is no other way by which it can express. So this is the condition at the second thought. But then you come to know He is not all that dependent upon you as you are on Him. He seems to have alternatives. If you do not fill in the gap, he can find it somebody else will fill the gap. But you are not able to do that. In spite of our creating 300 crore gods, we could not help having one God above all of them. Or seeing that one God through all this. There's a much more mature way of putting it. We have got about 360 crores. Fine. But each one of them represents only the ultimate for us. And only people in this country can understand that. No other person is capable of comprehending this. We are a set of unique fellows. Because of our karma, we have got this type of understanding. But you come to know that He is not all that dependent upon. And you understand, oh, I am more dependent upon Him than He. And that is the beginning of bhakti. People who would say that they start sadhana with bhakti are really talking something off their hand. The stages of progress demands that you should go through these stages. An awareness that of transiency of life, of temporariness of life, and the dependency on God has to come first. Then only to the question of bhakti. Love develops. Bhakti is another word for that. Between two persons. You must be aware of sentences we said, he is devoted to the family. That is, he attends to the work of the family with such an amount of devotedness as if he does not do it, there is something that will have befall. That is something very bad. The man is devoted to his wife, we know that. The woman is devoted to the husband, we know that. We use the word devote, they love. Similar relationship with God is what we want. There is no sense of expectancy between the husband and wife every day to love each other. There is no sense of expectancy between the head of the family and the family each day. This is what he is supposed to do. This fellow is likely to be useful to me at my last age. No, I don't think any parent thinks in those lines. But he loves. Because it's natural for him to do. That type of feeling will come when you know that we are all interdependent. Interdependency leads you to the feeling of devotion and love. And we are supposed to move on to that plane. As I told you, whenever these things do not happen, we have got to go through the help of pranayama. Now, coming to the other aspect. By the time first knot is crossed, you have already got a discipline. You tend to follow certain routines of sadhana. What could be just a compliance to the letter of the book, whatever book it is that we have got in the beginning, becomes a natural tendency for you to follow. Yama, niyama. These are the two things that are must. You must know, in order to achieve certain things, you have got to do things which are conducive for your progress, avoid things which are not conducive for your progress. This is what is meant by the dual term yama and niyama. It will be taking too much of time to talk about what are the yamas and what are the niyamas that are prescribed, but then you know that there are certain do's and certain don'ts. In our system, we ask you to follow the 10 commandments. Knowing full well, and having heard earlier this morning, you must be knowing that these are all connected with several stages. You know that you cannot follow all. But you know one thing, the interdependency of nature compels you to pray at the morning. You would like to be in tune with nature. We would not like to be a variant from it. This leads to when the problem of life takes a turn and we understand that there is some discipline that is required, and then we follow that. We also see that there are enough things that we have got to put up with. And the Grahasta ashrama is the best training ground for spirituality, because you have got to develop a fortitude. You have got to develop a patience. Whether you like it or not, you have to develop in a Grahasta life. Because you are living together. You have got to put up with things. You have got to compromise. You understand the interdependency. You also understand love, but also you also understand one more thing called uparati. Vedantic word, but still meaningful word. It means that I take things as they come. Titiksha is another word that we have got. Forbearance. Forbearance and fortitude are essential for development of spirituality. The flippant remarks come down. You tend to mellow down. You tend to start thinking about things much more patiently. Your basic animal instinct has not changed yet. There will be occasions when you will be shouting. There will be occasions when you will throw away things, break things, perhaps break heads of others also. But with the development of bhakti, while these things still subsist, there will also be a prayer to the divine saying that I have done these things. Please excuse me. Please forgive me. I try my best not to repeat this. But then we repeat. Promises are never kept, even to God for that matter. The transition from interdependency to bhakti is a very, very tough process. And it is a gradient you've got to climb. Rather than so that you've got a gradient. It is not the correct picture. So this is over here. This is the gradient. This gradient requires a twist, has to be done. This push has to be received by a person who knows how to do that. And then once this is done, then you move on into this plane, the first body. Yogic is from so the movement from the second part to the third part itself, from interdependence to bhakti itself, is an enormous tough job. Because most of us who go to temples, who follow, who think that we are devoted, who feel that they are doing the meditations properly, people who think that they are worshipping God well, are only trying to flatter God and not be devoted to Him. Flattery is one thing that we resort to. That is, we are still at the level of appeasing somebody to get our things done. We are still transacting at the level of equality. I give you, you give me. That is my temple Tirupati. I go and good, you do this to me, I'll put that money to you. I'll perform this, you perform that. The transaction is at the equal level, not at the dependency level. The bhakti has not developed. For all purposes, socially it is agreed. I am not going to contest any one of these practices. My point is only stressing this much. The transaction level is one of equivalence and not one of being less than the divine. Perhaps we are trying to be smart with him because we'd like to him to give us about 10 lakhs of profit so that I may give 1 lakh of profit. So 1 lakh, you find all of a sudden the notes in the undi. But then this is what we are trying to be, more smart than him. Equal level. Submissive level has not developed. Why it has developed like that would be a matter for them to bother about. For the spiritual person, he is not bothered about that. We know this much. We transact with God mostly at this level. And that is why we consider such a God cannot be considered as, such a concept of God cannot be considered as the ultimate concept. It may have its own value. We are not going to deny on any one of those things. But most of the people think that from bhakti to sharanagati also is easy. It is not so. Because the next quality, greatest quality that we have to develop is shraddha or faith. Up to now, faith has not come. The concept of faith has not come up to now. We know there is a transiency of nature. We know that we have got to somehow or other get disinterested with these things. We also know that we are dependent and interdependent. We come to know that we have got to yield to the divine. But where is Shraddha? One of the most important ingredients of spiritual life is Shraddha. Shraddha would mean, first of all, do you have the confidence that you can know? Faith in yourself. Faith in God. Faith in the method. All these three things come here. Without it, you cannot understand much of faith. You should have faith in yourself or confidence in yourself. You can use that word if you want. You should have confidence in the Master or God. You should have the confidence in the path that you are following. All these things get more and more regulated when you move on from third knot to fourth knot. The transition is relatively easier compared to second to third, because there is a gradient there, whereas there is no gradient here. This is almost an equal play. And once the Shraddha develops, you will be in a position to move on to the higher plane. Now, I have been deliberately avoiding certain concepts. The Bhautika Sharira, with which we start, has got the Prana Sharira also. That is inside that is the Prana that is moving around. That Prana consists of 5 different types of Prana. We are aware of. Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udana, Samana. We have got. These things move inside our body. Body, in the sense, they are capable of determining our boundaries. A body is one which determines our boundary. Beyond this, we do not go. It is inside, encased in the physical body itself. Similarly, are our feelings. That is the Manasika Sarira also is inside our body. Because after that is the lower consciousness, as we have seen. Anything that is concerned with the lower place. These are the lower planes, most of which are had by the animals. The journey started with the Manasik Sarira trying to go up, and then it started aspiring for something else, Vijnanamaya. It started moving on, and then we started with Vijnanamaya. We came to the first Vijnana, that this is the transiency. Second Vijnana, we are interdependent or dependent upon God, and third one is one of dependency, total dependency, or being a servant of the divine for his purposes is the third one. And when you come to the fourth, we say, yes, we are now moving on to the higher plane with confidence. Can I now move on to the higher plane? We seem to have developed a confidence. Till that time, you don't have a confidence at all. You seem to be a slave of circumstances. I am but a slave of my wishes, putting a bar to my advancement. That's how the prayer goes. So this prayer level, this level of being a slave to our own wishes, is something that you've got to transcend. And that is possible only when we say thou art the only God and power to bring us up to that stage. That is the faith in the Master. The surrender to Master has to happen. Surrender has got several ways. People think by falling at the feet of somebody, you are surrendered. It is not true. And we go on crowing that we have surrendered to you, sir. Yes. Prapatti is another word that we have used. But then that is not in this play. Here it is only Sharanatva that we use. Tradition has mixed these two concepts so badly. The Sharanatva enables you to what? To develop a confidence that the Master is there to look after me. One is that you should fall at the feet or seek surrender. Another is a feeling that he has accepted your surrender. We may go from one god to another god. Infinite number of gods are there. And we have found in the Puranas those people who put the difficulties running from one person to another person. Nothing new. That's a familiar theme. You got some problem, somebody has cursed you, then you go to this person, you go to that person, he says, I cannot do, go to him. All sorts of running after people, seeking refuge. Similar is our position. Whom should I ask? Ultimately, it's only God who has to ask. But then do you have that confidence that you will take care of? The famous story of Gayopakhyana has always been a big problem for me. I have not understood much. Any one of you can throw some light on this subject. He is a great devotee of Krishna who commits a mistake. The first person to whom he should have gone is only Krishna. And then said, I have committed a mistake. Excuse me, I have surrendered you long back. But then he knocks at all other doors. That shows the deficiency in the lack of surrender there. And that is the lesson that was taught in Gayopakhyana from my point of view. From the point of view of a sadhaka, that's how I look at it. Any lapse on my part, I would like to present it before the God, before the Master in my night prayer, while going to bed, while complying with the 10th commandment. I would like to place it there instead of placing it to all others. Because that is the place where I can get refuge. Do you have that confidence? Is a question. You develop a confidence when you move from fourth knot to the fifth knot, is what our experience says. It becomes easy for you to practice that commandment. Till that time, what shall we do? It will be ritual. Rites and rituals are nothing new in spirituality or religion. This is a ritual. The relationship between the stages and the 10 commandments I have tried to explain in my book. Kindly go through that if it is available. Now, up to this, we have come to the self. What was something connected with the Annamaya, Kosha, that is the Bhautika, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha. We have said all these three levels are already passed by humanity, and we start only from Manomaya onwards to Vijnanamaya, and then to Anandamaya. Now, when you reach the fifth knot, you are reaching a state of Anandamaya. It's a state of ecstatic, ecstasy, a state of evenness, a balance, no thought condition, and all the time happiness. Now that becomes a trap. We think that itself is the end. We would like to stay there. What else do you want? I want the Ananda. I got it. What more do I want? This is the reason why saints and sages of the past have never gone beyond this, because they are happy with it. Few among them ever thought of going above. And that is a very, very arduous process of trying to go from the fifth knot to sixth knot, because it is a very steep climb. All this time, we have been going through a zigzag method. In tradition, instead of the zigzag, you have got from Anahata to Visuddha straight. It's a straight line from heart to this. First climb of 9 inches, as it is put. The Sangulam, 10 inches. This is the Sangula that counts. This Dasangula is toughest, but the next is much worse. The next is much worse. And that one we have got to go only like that. There is no other way. But in this system, what happens is the flow of consciousness is diverted through the two sides of your face to the Kanta chakra from the higher plane. And then there's a gradual movement to the upside. Lest you get stuck up at the sixth knot, we move on to the seventh, which exactly is a replica. 6 and 7 are nothing but a replica of 1 and 1A. That is the same Viveka and Vairagya comes in a different way here. Now we moved on from the Atma Sharira to the Brahma Sharira. You are no more confined to the body. The Pinda doesn't hold you. You are no more confined to the body. The experiences of our living beyond the Pinda is what you get even when you are at the lower planes when you are meditating. You get the tidings of that. much earlier. Maybe even in the fourth knot, you start feeling that you are expanding. Your common experiences are that many people have reported to us that they have found there is no body consciousness. They have said that, sir, we do not know where we are. We seem to have expanded. We are not able to localize. I am not able to feel my legs. I am not able to feel my hands. And my jocular way of putting it always has been perhaps you're suffering from numbness. Because that's also a time when you do not know what you feel. Is it numb or have you grown? It's a question of viveka. If you know that you're grown, then you know that you're grown. Otherwise, it's something else physiologically. So when you grow into the Brahmana Sarira, these concepts become much better and discriminative intelligence becomes refined. And that leads us to the next stage. We have got one of dependency, which we have experienced in the part 3, gets reflected here as prapanna. Prapannagati. Bhakti leads to Prapannagati. Third and the eighth knot approximately always go together. The finer shades of these things come to you when you practice. But then from that state onwards, we move on to the next stage when you feel that you are the Lord. You feel so much in tune with the Master that you start thinking that you are the Master himself. That's what we call a Prabhugati. And then further on, you move, you come to know that you are not the Master, you come to know that you have got the same qualities, Ishvara Gunas, you seem to be having. That means you are able to move around the universe, in the astral plane, feel everything there. Now here, that's the basic trouble. Traditionally, people who have felt it have always fallen. They left their yoga because they thought they're equal to God. They behaved funnily also. From fifth knot onwards, they behave funnily. Various people have fallen at various levels. The reason for falling is you feel that you got the same powers, but you do not understand the restraint that is required. The man who is more powerful has to have more restraint. He can't use it. He's not supposed to use it indiscriminately, according to his whims and fancies. When he does it, a Ravanasura would be there. When he does it, some other Asura would be there. But they seem to be inevitably accompanying. The system gives you a protection. The master uses your powers as if it is his own for his purposes, but you are kept oblivious, unconscious, unaware of what is happening to you. This is the greatest protection in the system, that you are not allowed to have any knowledge of any one of your capacities. That is the best way by which any master can protect us, lest we fall. That would be the worst thing that can ever happen to us. Having gone considerably, if you fall again, the more you go, the fall will be much steeper. We really sink. A man in the first step will only lose 6 inches perhaps for the step. A fellow at the top of the staircase, if he falls, he will fall straight down, breaking his bones. And you know what has happened in the case of those two great Jaya Vijayas who were protecting the moves on. And then you do not come to the conclusion that you can do whatever you like, but you understand the lower condition also of being a prapanna, and then you are a prabhu. The prapanna prabhugati also is there. These are all the states of consciousness that were described by Babaji Maharaj between the Agni Chakra and the Sahasrara, which no other yogic literature anywhere in the world has ever taught of. Except for some references you may find in Jnanadeva, nowhere else you have got this. And there also he talks enormously about the Kundalini only. He doesn't talk anything else. As a commentary for the Gita. So Jnaneshwari says something about it, but doesn't say fully about it. Here we have gone through these experiences, we can definitely say, yes, this is what it is. By the time you are crossing the Kantak Chakra itself, we know, if you really cross, you know that you have got rid of your sleep. One of the indices of knowing that you have got into this fifth knot itself is that you will be in a dreamy state. Dreams are more. Dreams are more. When you come to the sixth knot, what happens is you see the others, but you don't have the impression that is cast on you. Samskaras do not get formed. And every person or every experience is treated as a shadow. Of course, shadows are creating samskaras today, thanks to your teas. Enormous shadows. Virtual images. Capable of creating enormous samskaras in you, plus and minus. They cast impressions on you because they are playing at the bestial plane. Of pornography and violence. These are the two things that I generally see. Whenever somebody tunes on, these are the two things that are there. Day in and day out projected, but they are very, very strong impressions they create. It is wisdom, this viveka, not to open it. You can always say the Socrates was capable of putting down all these things and walk as a saints are in the morning, but Socrates was not common. Unless we have got a feeling that we are uncommon beings, there is no point in comparing with our souls. So the Prabhugati and then the Prapanna Prabhugati are the stages where you get to know enormous things about the world, all through shadows. Things you find that you are active somewhere else where you are not. You feel the expansion, got a very, very faint reflection of that in your consciousness. And nothing more than that is granted here. And then move on to Sahasrara. Now, between these two, Ajna and Sahasrara, a significant location point has been made of Chitlik, where your thoughts come. I do hope that the person who talked to you about the point A must have told you that any idea that we have got finally emerges from this place. That is the place where we get to know about the thoughts. Whatever thought you think there, it comes there, and then that is the one that creates your destiny. Similar is the position of the Chit plane. It is some sort of a inversion of the higher plane, where all the thoughts are there. And from there only you are going to get all the thoughts. And we can clean that up to see that certain amount of tranquility is given or obtained by the aspirant. But then, this is not resorted to every day. For the only reason, it is not all that easy to tackle that. It's turbulent in our minds. Unless the mind is already disciplined to some extent through yama and nema, it doesn't make any sense to touch it. It is just entering into the stormy waters of the ocean. You can't pull it down. The diversion of the flow of consciousness to the Atma Chakra and the trying to lift you from the lower plane to the upper plane takes care of the control of the Chittadek automatically. Because these are all the two things that disturb us most. If this disturbance is reduced, the disturbance in that sea can be reduced. And then any suggestion given right there is one that is going to help us out here. That is why the Chit ends. Ananda, I said, ends at the fifth knot. Chit ends here. And then simple existence moves on. When you meditate, you either have the Chit or the Ananda, but simply you are meditating. And that is the Sat. All the three put together is your Sahasrara, Satchidananda. You are about to move on. That's what Babaji says. Tradition says this is the final limit. Beyond this, you do not go. But Babaji Maharaj says, no, you have got still further you can go. The thought can come to a stage, Satchitananda can come to a state of just not knowing what is the reality itself. Come to a stage of not knowing what it is. Because you seem to be struggling with these three concepts again and again. There seems to be no way out of these three thoughts. The whole existence comprises of this. We come to that conclusion. And they have come to that conclusion. With assiduous practice, they have come to that conclusion. But he says this condition is a refuse of reality. Reality is something more. Consciousness per se will move on. Non-awareness of the existence itself. How it will be? How will it be? If you ask the question, how will it be? How can you understand unless you are there? Up to this, we are able to move on with the mic. The talk was going on, struggling after the ananda, struggling with these concepts. But now we come to a stage when no concept seems to work. That is the realm of God. The mind region starts, as he says it. Up to this is the heart region. Up to Shikara is the heart region. Beyond that is the mind region of God, not ours. That exactly is the scheme of things. The blueprint of our existence. It's in the mind region. And by definition, God's mind is something that you will never know. But that's to become God yourself. Nothing but one of dependency. You're trying to say, yes, I am here. So aware still. Awareness of dependency is still there. Sharanatva is gone. Though Sharanatva is the next, not to third, the fourth one. Sharanatva is gone. Confidence that I have been accepted also is gone. But dependency is continuing. Because there's two, by the time we cross the fifth knot, surrender has lost its value. By the time we reach the Chit Lake, we have already lost even the remaining remnants of the Prapanagati also, which is only a reflection of the surrender. Saranagati, he's lost it. So surrender is not the primary thing there. Devotion. It is our duty to be devoted. That is the feeling that you get. Why should you be devoted? So that I may get some promotion? No. So that my daughter's marriage is performed? No. It is my duty to be devoted. It is our primary duty to be devoted. Is the awareness of the consciousness there? We move on. We move on further. Then this feeling gets verified. All of a sudden you are faced with a certain amount of splendor. Splendor is one of the difficult words to translate into our language. I've been struggling. Any one of you can help me. Splendor. There are the origins of the being itself. Now, coming from the base, suppose we look at reality for say. It is of the nature of consciousness we have been told. That consciousness has become matter much later. First it expressed, it came out. It came out with multiple colors. And multiple colors are only gross reflections of the seven colors. The seven rays are out. Each one giving us a particular hue of consciousness. The experiments on the colors and the types of consciousness variations have been done. They have no value here. Because you don't see it in that intensity. There's a faint reflection of that feeling. All these things moves on. How it will be, it will be very difficult for me to say now. But I can tell you one thing. Happiness, joy, bliss, splendor, put together all of them, that is the feeling you got there. It's impossible to describe. It doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. The consciousness still is there. The Sakshi is still there. Reflective consciousness is not there to this extent, but it is still there. That also ceases. And I am told that we may have to swim there forever. I do not know. Because I have not seen forever. Up to this, I have struggled something. Beyond this, I will not be in a position. So, sir, with these few words, I share with you the stages of progress that are possible for you, and I want all of you to have it. So long as bestiality is not going to be controlled, don't talk about progress. As my master puts it, if somebody has got this book, in English or like purpose and plan. I will share with you some thoughts more. They are not mine, they are masters. He has given some nutshell as to what exactly we should do. This is a small piece from SriRamchandraji Maharaj. It says, what I want is that all of you rise as sons of spirituality. It reaches the highest stage. But how is it possible and when that is possible? He answers, when you orbit in such a way as your movement be direct. I don't know whether you understand this concept of orbiting directly. Orbit is always like this. How do you directly? These are all the enigmas, kumans. You understand more when you actually practice. Because all the time our thought is centered around him. When your mind is always fixed on him, then you are strict. When you think about his qualities, you are out of it. You are in the orbit. The qualities of God, which have been praised by so many ways. You have sutras, mantras, sahasranamas, umpty number of ways. They are all orbit, outside circumference. You orbit straight only on him and nothing else. That is, your orbit becomes so small. Over a point, it revolves on that. When you take a big circumference, big areas, you go on adding space, then it becomes a big one. It's a point. Orbiting around a point is as good as almost direct. How to find this orbit? How to move direct? By keeping the destination in full view, as I just now said. Full view, keep the destination. How to remember the destination? By becoming one with it. But with what? Not the destination. The concept of becoming. How to remember the destination? Go on, remember. Let remembrance be your nature. That's what we mean by constant remembrance. Constant remembrance of the goal. The next one. And when can a person be one with that? When you lose yourself. When you are lost in the remembrance, then you lose yourself. How to lose oneself? By bearing no other thought in the heart than that. And how is it possible? By practice. How practice is possible? To love and interest. You should love and interest. Love God. How love and interest can be cultivated? Through determination. Through determination. How determination is possible? When we gird up our loins to sacrifice our pleasures and to shake off idleness. I hope all of you have got the determination, and I wish you all the best. God bless you all.